So you are separated or actually divorced at this point. And today I actually want to provide you guys some advice in which I have found to be extremely helpful in this particular situation. Now, this particular video is directed from a comment that I received about young kids and how I have been dealing with the interactions with my ex, and essentially how to deal with mind games that may be going on. And the biggest thing for me, from my perspective, was I got to a point where I knew before going into divorce that things were essentially done. And I essentially had this epiphany that, you know, no matter what I did, it wasn't going to work out. It was essentially leading down the road to divorce. I realized that, hey, that seed had been planted long ago. You know, there was really no effort that could go into stopping from what was inevitable. Nonetheless, you're at this point to where now you have young kids involved, and it can be extremely hard with young kids. But the thing to remember here is, again, I am not a lawyer. I am just some random guy on YouTube, but I am sharing my experiences with you guys. And the fact is that here you have to realize that you have young minds that you are molding. And every reaction that you have to an emotion is going to be looked upon those young minds, and that those young minds are still being molded. And so you have to, depending what side you're on here, the biggest thing you have to understand here is that you have to be the bigger person, especially in front of the kids, the young kids. If there is something that's bigger that's going on that you find that you just can't handle, the other person can't handle it, they're getting emotional, they're yelling and screaming, whatever the case is, you have to do your best to realize you have eyes on you. Maybe that person's not there, maybe the kids have stepped away. The biggest thing is you want to shut that down and realize that, hey, you know, whatever has happened has happened. Yes, we are moving on. Whether you guys are trying to work it out, whatever the case is, you still have to realize that there's going to be a lot of mixed emotions, and depending on how long your relationship is with that person, it will take time to eventually, ultimately just overcome everything, essentially establish a new norm and move on from that situation. But you have to remember, when you are doing any kind of pickups or drop-offs, that you want to be the bigger person, no matter what's going on. Because even legally, right, you don't want to overstep your boundary. You want to make sure you are clear-cut on everything that you do. And again, remind yourself that you might have those young kids there, right, that are watching every reaction that you have. And if you are the more reasonable person in the relationship, you need to understand that. You need to take that responsibility. You took the responsibility of having these young kids. You need to take the responsibility of, you know, essentially providing them a good, someone to look up to, right? Someone that they can look up to and see that you're not overreacting, that you are staying calm in the given situation. And a lot of times it can get heated. So the biggest thing is, especially with emotion, is to try to hold those emotions back as best as you can. And if you feel that you can't do that, you know, maybe you need to just step away. Just shut it down. Don't say anything. Don't feed into it. Step away. And then address it later when you realize that you and the ex can get together and actually have a conversation once everybody's cooled off. You feel that that can't happen, maybe you need to get some professional help going on there, but ultimately that should not be done in front of the kids. Now, another thing here is, in this comment he was asking about, it seemed like his ex was almost like misleading him. And the biggest thing here to understand here is, you guys are getting a divorce. Maybe, I don't know if you have finalized the divorce or what the case is, but you have to realize that there was a purpose as to why you were getting a divorce. And to try to repair that, in my mind, if the idea of getting a divorce has been there and it's been executed, you have to realize that that is going to essentially forever stay in any kind of relationship you're going to have with that person. That's always going to be there. Now, it may be a physical thing, or just the energy, the built up frustration, or whatever, the pent up frustration that's been going on. Maybe that's why there's mixed messages going on. And it may seem like the right thing to do just because you're in the moment, but to be honest, it is not going to benefit either one of you. And it's just going to lead you down a path, especially if you're the one that didn't essentially initiate the divorce. A good majority of the time, women do initiate divorce. And so coming from a man's perspective, you have to realize that, that has already been initiated. You have to step away. The longer you play these mind games, you're going to have to realize that you're going to be dragged along. Now, you have to learn that since a divorce has been essentially done, what I'm assuming has happened, you have to learn to move on. You have to learn to stop focusing on that relationship and start focusing on yourself. This is one of the biggest things in any divorce, is you have to keen focus on yourself. How are you going to essentially help yourself out of this situation? Because that's what it is. You have to realize that there is going to be hope at the end of the tunnel. There is other people out there. There's an abundance of other people. Right now, you're not seeing that because you are familiar with this relationship. But ultimately, you have to realize that there is other relationships out there and better ones for you. Not to just assume that this one relationship that maybe you've carried on for many years is the relationship that you need to get back into. So these mixed messages that you're getting, I think, in my mind, just my advice is you need to shut it down. Don't allow yourself to fall back into that, because you're going to get into this vicious cycle of thinking that there's something there when there is not, because she can shut it down again. Again, this is just my perspective on it. And so these mind games that may be played, that's fine, that's great, but you need to know where you stand. You're going to stand up for yourself. You're going to respect yourself and not take any steps to initiate anything and shut anything down that is essentially brought to you from that perspective. There's a reason why, again, you have a divorce. And so this leads to the fake hope, right? The fact that you think that something is going to happen again. You want that relationship to come back. But again, the truth is that relationship has ended. You need to look at yourself, right? As a man, as a woman, whoever you are, if you have not obviously initiated that divorce, that you have to come to terms with that. And if you can't come to terms with that, you need to take a step back. Because the hope that you're hoping is there, you have to realize that there's again, an abundance of other things out there. You have put all your eggs in that one basket in that relationship in hopes that it would work. It didn't work. That's why you guys are divorced. That's why you guys are separated. You have to realize that the next step is to look after you. To realize that you have kids that are looking up to you, and realize that there is a better life for you. There is hope that life will be better, just not with that person. No matter what memories you've had with that person, that's in the past. And initially it's hard to get over. It is extremely hard to get over. I'm not going to say it's not hard to get over. It is hard to get over. But you have to come to terms with that. You have to learn that you have to move on and find better hope, other things that interest you other than a relationship. And that's not just saying going and jumping in another relationship because you are essentially trying to fill that void with something else that's not there. And you're going to realize that it's not going to work out. The rebound relationship is not going to work out. Do what you need to do, but that rebound relationship is not going to work. You have to realize that there is something more there. You have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself time to heal and start focusing on what really matters, which is yourself. because you're going to need that, especially right now. It's going to be a hard time to get through, but you need to focus on yourself, especially if you have young kids. That's extremely important. You have to essentially provide somebody that they can look up to and realize that, hey, you know, dad's good, he's got his head on, he knows what he's doing, he's going out, he's making things happen. And right now it may not seem that way. So as long as you are focusing on yourself and allow yourself to heal, you will eventually get there. There is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel. This isn't the only relationship, and I think that's the biggest thing to understand here, is you think that that is the best you can do. You have to realize that there is other options out there. You have to realize that there is other things out there. Have you looked for your purpose? Maybe you don't know where your purpose is, and I talk about that on this channel all the time. If you find your purpose, you will not need hope for a relationship that has already failed, because you believe in yourself that you have something else that you can work on that will help build your confidence back up, build belief in yourself to go out there and tackle the world again. Because right now you're lost. Right now all you're holding on to is a relationship that is broken, that will never be fixed, that will never be the same. It is tainted from this point forward. So I hope this helps you. If it has, remember to hit the like button on the way out, and also share it with somebody else that might be going through the same experience. And until next time, I will see you guys later.